again. It's time for section 3.6, which is on orthographic drawings. And guess what? You won't believe it. I'm actually semi-competent at this. I have done this before. So hopefully I won't make as big a fool of myself today as I have in the last few videos. So what are orthographic drawings? They are a way of representing a 3D object on a 2D surface. So in other words, it's a 2D view of a 3D object. It represents the shape and the size. So when you have an orthographic drawing, you have a sense of both the shape and the size. What you're going to do is you're going to do different views. You're going to draw separately different views, and it can include all 6 views: front, back, top, bottom, left, right. But oftentimes you only show 3 views. You show the front, the top, and one side, either the left or the right. I don't know, it seems like it's more often the right, but I don't think that's a rule or anything like that. Okay, now we come to some rules which are hard to explain without actually going to an example, and also a couple of them are a little controversial, I would say. Oh, not this one. Each view is aligned with another. So for example, once you draw your top view, let's say your top view looks like this. If you were going to draw the front now, you wouldn't draw the front way over here, for example. The front should line up. And in fact, what you often can do is you actually draw dotted lines to show just how perfectly it lines up. Then the right-hand side would need to line up with the front as well. So I don't know, I'm just making up this shape, just pretending here. This would line up this way. The left would line out here, would line up this way. So let's say it was like this, and the bottom would line up down here. Again, see how it's all lining up, and lining up with this. As for the back, I don't know, as I said, we don't usually do all 6 views. You could put it on the bottom, I suppose, and the top. You're probably going to have to do some labeling. Anyway, you'll see more what I mean in a second. Alright, so they have to line up. Next, object lines are drawn to show any edges you can see. So again, I'll get to this when we get to an example, but you might have a face that looks like this, a view that looks like this, and then you have a line in the middle like that. And what that means is it's not a completely flat surface. Either this is closer to you or the other one is closer to you. You wouldn't actually be able to tell which one's closer to you, but you know this is not a completely flat surface. Either this square piece is bigger to you or this rectangular piece is closer to you. Which takes me to the last one and controversial one. Thicker lines may be used to show parts that are closer to you. I don't usually do this, and in fact most of the instructions I've seen for this don't include this, but there are some books I've seen that say, okay, if this square one is closer to you, then show it's closer to you by putting a little bit thicker, and now you can actually picture that this one's sticking out towards you and this is not. Does it give you a little more information? Yeah, it does. That's good. But I don't know, it's not as much fun. It's a little less challenging, and it's a little more work, of course, to make it thicker. So maybe we'll do both, or I'll give you some examples of both. Alright, probably pretty hard to understand a lot of that without an example. Okay, let's start with this drawing here, the shape here rather, and let's start with the front drawing, the front view. So the front, first of all, where's the front? Well, right here, it says front. So it's like if we were looking from here, you'd be looking at this right here. Would you see any other face if you're looking directly from that area right there? Yeah, you'd also see this, wouldn't you? And that's the only 2 things you'd see. You would see this yellow face and this yellow face, and nothing more. And what's more, if you were really standing here, especially from a distance, you might not be able to see which one's closer and which one's further away. So it would actually just look like a rectangle, wouldn't it? It would actually look something like this. That would be your front view. But wait a minute, it's not completely flat. The whole thing, we already said, these 2 faces aren't the same distance away from each other. So you'd also have a line in the middle to show the one half and the other half. So it actually looks something like this. Now I think this is supposed to be more like squares, so I think I'm going to fix this up. Okay, there we go. There is our front view. Okay, now we're going to do the top. And the top is this, like a big P shape here, isn't it? Over to there. So that's what we're going to draw now. We're going to draw a P shaped above this. And it has to line up perfectly. So what I mean by that is you wouldn't draw the P over here. That does not line up perfectly. Like this would not make sense. You'd want to make it so it lines up with this corner here. So I'd start about here and I'd go up, I don't know, about this high, over. Now where do I stop? Where it lines up with this. Down, over. How far do I go? Till it lines up with this one. Down, and over. And that would be my top view. Everything's the same distance away. It's all flat and everything, so there's no lines in the middle of this one. This is top. Okay, left and right. Left and right need to line up with the front. So you could make them align with the top. I think that's okay, but almost always you're going to see them align with the front. Everything aligns with the front. That's the way I like to do that. So let's look at the right side of this shape here. If we look from the right, you would see this, and you would also see this. So if you look at those two together, what do you get? You get a rectangle, don't you? So the way a lot of people will draw this is they'll say, okay, what's a rectangle? It must look like this. No, that's not possible. You know why? Because it has to align with the front. This isn't aligned. This thing's aligned in the middle of nowhere. So actually, what you'd have to do is take this shape and flip it around, and then you could draw it here. Now it's a little too big. Let me make that a little bit smaller, and something like that. Now it's probably a little too small. Good enough. That's what it would look like. But wait a minute. Couple problems. One, I think it should be a little bit longer, so let me do that first. And the second thing is, again, this whole face is not the same distance from you. You have this face and this face. They're different. So you're going to have a line in the middle. I think it's a little closer to this one, so I wouldn't put it right in the middle this time. I'd put it a little over to the right. I'd probably put it around here, and that's what this right-hand side would look like. That's our right face, our right view, I should say. Okay, let's look at the left hand now. Now that's tough, right? You can't see the left. The left is when you're looking from over here. You can't see it. Let's think about this. If you were to look over there, you would see a big rectangle. And the thing that's nice about that rectangle, everything's the same distance away. There's no line in the middle. In fact, it should look exactly like this rectangle here, but without the line in the middle. So I'm just going to copy and paste and put that rectangle so it lines up with the front. And that's my left-hand side. Now, in all honesty, I'm only interested in those 4 views. If you get those 4 views, I think you're doing great, and I think that's enough. We can tell what the shapes are of objects by just looking at those. If you want to do more, you can. Not necessary. If you were going to do the bottom looks exactly the same as the top. So you just have this same view as the top. That'd be your bottom. And the back, I guess the back would just be a small rectangle, wouldn't it? I don't know. I'll put that up top. But the back would just be a rectangle that looks like this. Again, I'm not so interested in those last 2 views. I'm going to get rid of them. So again, this is the back if you were looking from here, but I'm going to get rid of that. And the bottom I'm also not interested in, so I'll get rid of that. Okay, those are the 4 views we're interested in. Okay, those are the 4 views we're interested in. Oh, one last thing. Remember I said you do have the option, if you have faces that are closer to you, to draw bold around them. So that would only come into play for front and right. So let's look at the front again. Let me highlight the front again for you. The front was this and this. And put those together and you get the whole rectangle. But remember, one part of that rectangle was closer to you. Which part? The part on the left. So what you could do is you could make fatter lines around the left-hand side to show that that's what's closer to you. You now know by looking at this which part is closer to you. Again, on the right, just by looking at this drawing, you don't know what's closer to you, the left or the right. But if I was to highlight the right-hand view, there's this and this. Which one's closer to you, the left or the right? The right would be closer to you if you were looking at it from the right-hand side. So again, you could go around the right-hand side here to show that this is actually closer to you. Okay, so that's that one. Let's move to the next one. Okay, the last one's a tough one. Very tough. So we're starting with the front view. What do I see if I'm looking from the front, right? Front's over here, I'm looking there. What do I see? I see all of this L sort of shape, but I also see this square right there. Okay, so I'm going to have to put all that. So here's my L. And then I have a square. Now notice that square doesn't go all the way up to the top. There's a little space there. So I'm going to put it up to about there. And in fact, I think I'm going to shorten this a bit. I think it's a little too long. I'm going to shorten it to about there. Yeah, I feel good about that. So there's my front. Now notice I don't actually need to label these front, top, left, right if I always do them in this orientation. And I should always do them in this orientation. The front should already be situated, always be situated here, left on the left, right on the right, top above it. Okay, so I'm only going to label front. I'm not going to label the rest of it. Darn, you know what I haven't done? I haven't given myself enough room on the left. Let me move this whole thing over. There we go. Okay, let's go on to the top. So top, we see this, we see this, and we also see all of this. You put all that together and you know what you have? You actually have a whole rectangle, right? There's going to be some lines in there, but you can see a whole rectangle. So I want it to be aligned from this corner and it has to go all the way over to this edge here. So I'm going to go like this all the way to there. I just have to decide how high to make it. I don't know. How about right there looks about right? Now I need to add some lines. Okay, well it has to be one line coming down here, so it's going to go down there. Where should it line up with? Right with this, so up to there. Now you basically need this square drawn up here. So like that. And that's it. That's my top. Okay, let's do the easy one first, the left. I know it seems hard because you can't see it, but actually if you think about it, on the left hand face there, you can only see one rectangle. That's all you can see is a rectangle. So remember, you're going to put that beside the front. Should line up with this and this. So it should go like this. And then it's just a matter of how big you want to make that, or not how much you want, how much it should be. And it should be about the same as this here. So I think that's looking pretty good. Okay, on the right hand side, what do we see? We see this, we see this, and we also see this. So again, it's actually another rectangle. It's actually going to be the same size as this rectangle right here. So I'll just copy that and paste it. And I'll put that one so it lines up nicely over there. Now we got to figure out the lines. Well, there's going to be one line along the bottom here. That should match up with this one. So we should have this line. And then that cube shows up again, doesn't it? And that cube this time is going to be down in the corner here. So it's going to look something like that. And that's it. There's my front, my top, my left, and my right. Kind of fun. I like this. It's more fun in class for sure. We get out the blocks that we can snap together, and we snap shapes together and draw them, our orthographic drawings of them. So hopefully we can do that in class. And if you have any questions, let me know. Take care.